if it isn't actually banned by law. Now, I mentioned this on your last show. When I was on the show last, you very kindly invited me. The corpus juris system, or sometimes known as the Napoleonic Code, tells the citizen that which he may do, and that is a fundamental change. So they have a rule book to say this is what you may do, this is what you may not do. So consequently, they always have the upper hand. The legal system always has the upper hand. And of course, if you look at that prescriptive system and you see that over 50% of all the commissars who actually head up the bureaucracies of the European Union, and 75% of our laws of all countries, not just Great Britain, all countries, are made by the place from which I'm speaking at the moment, this is how we're totally and utterly wrapped up. And people just don't know and don't understand that these characters are dominating every aspect of their lives.
And again, just briefly for those that don't understand this European Union bureaucracy, because they're setting up a similar quasi-governmental one, more of a corporate brand of it here, with all this bureaucratic power. You're in France right now. Describe the different capitals and different bureaucracies, and how was the power originally vested to these unelected pirates? I mean, explain that in a nutshell for people, please, sir.
Well, it's really sort of mission creep, as it were. Legislation has come about since 1975, for example, where we said there was a referendum in 1975 in the United Kingdom, and we were told that it was a free trade zone. And a lot of people voted for it on that basis. It was free trade. And almost every 2 years since, there's been another treaty which has pushed it slowly but surely and relentlessly to a superstate that we have now, run by committees. The committees form the law, and of course one of the sad things that we've lost in the United Kingdom, this is something that it's happening to you, I believe that it's happening to you, is that we have lost our system of common law. We're now run by quangos. The United Kingdom is quango. I'm not sure whether that word is familiar in America.
Well, it's administrative law where the bureaucracy just churns out new rules with no statutory force behind them.
That's exactly right, and the powers that they have are extraordinary. Let me give an example. The Financial Service Authority in London. They can virtually kick down your door, they can close your business, they can do exactly as they like. There is no redress. You can't come back and say, you ruined my family's investment advisor practice with your shenanigans. There's no comeback, and it's the same with DEFRA, which is our agricultural enforcement agency. And we have a number of these agencies. So the law has been completely suspended. And of course, common law was a great thing. We gave a lot of the free world a magnificent legal system, not perfect. I'm not pretending it's perfect. It never was, but a pretty good one, all of which has now gone. And of course, if you take away the law, you take away the rights of the individual, and that's what's happened. But it hasn't happened in one bite-sized chunk. They weren't that stupid. They're not stupid enough to do it in a bite-sized chunk.
In the BBC, of all places, they've had Bilderberg Group members like Healy and others brag in the last 2 years, hey, guess what? 1957, Treaty of Rome, we established the European Union. We did it by stealth, and that's why at the 50th anniversary in 2007, it was the 50th anniversary. It wasn't the 7th anniversary when they announced it in 2000. They said, ha-ha, we set this up 50 years ago. Now 53 years ago, in your face. And when Judicial Watch sued 3 years ago, this is my film Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, when they sued, they got the internal SPP documents with Bush and everybody else meeting and this council of private corporations and bureaucrats. And the first order of business was North American integration by stealth through trade and security agreements. And so this is a dishonest conquest by a bureaucratic class funded by select monopoly capitalists who are not free market, who kind of dump communists and collectivists out to steal the middle class's wealth and then transfer it to them. I mean, this is truly a criminal enterprise. And then we look at and I want you to comment on that. This is the same model. We've been in the North American Union since 2005. We have the documents. The general public doesn't even know. You've been in your EU, at least on paper, since 57. They didn't tell you it was happening until 99, 2000. And then expanding out from there, we defeat Copenhagen, the countries don't sign on to it, and Gordon Brown and Barack Obama and the EU say, don't worry, Herman von Rompuy, they say, don't worry, we already had this power, we're going to start registering everybody's carbon globally, and we're going to take U.S., British, and European tax money and start shoveling it into this global government, calling it global government. I mean, this is a completely illegitimate criminal enterprise.
Yes, you're absolutely right. We recruit in the United Kingdom. There's a subversive group called Common Purpose. It's a sort of Freemasonry with a small f. So these guys are recruited at universities. They're spotted at universities, and they've been brought into the civil service systems, the BBC, and they've got their own style of jargon, their own sort of semi-secret handshakes. So they all sing off the same hymn sheet, and they are the people that actually, who would normally, we would expect in our legal systems, in our political systems, in our civil service systems, to be protecting us from these things by using our constitution. These are the people that have actually been subverted. And let me give you an example which I think will surprise you and surprise your listeners on both sides of the Atlantic. I'm also a member of the Environmental Committee, and bear in mind I re-won my seat in June, so by a very significant margin with an increased majority. Now, I'm not an important man in British politics, and I don't pretend to be, but I'm not totally insignificant. I wrote privately to the Prince of Wales, who believes all this carbon dioxide nonsense, bless his cotton socks. And he believes all this. And I wrote to him personally as an elected representative, a re-elected representative, as a member of the Environment Committee on the European Union, which governs the United Kingdom's entire environment and energy policy. I wrote to him privately at Clarence House and said, please, can I beg you to look more deeply into the science of this, because I don't think you're getting sound advice. And I think that the reason you're not getting sound advice is I think the people close to you are deliberately holding back information. And I said, please, I also beg you on this, Your Royal Highness, if you'd be so kind, would you reply to me personally? Because even if you don't agree with me, even if you don't like what I've got to say, at least I know that this letter was put in front of you. 3 months later, I got a letter from a lackey. Now, I actually don't believe the Prince of Wales saw my letter. Now, I don't know who advises him. I don't know what the situation is, and it's his own fault. I don't have a lot of sympathy. He wants to really actually sharpen his act up. But it does make you wonder, Alex, does it not, how deeply penetrated the entire British and European system has been by these individuals.
Absolutely. Gordon Brown's announcement that doesn't matter, we're going to register everybody's carbon and start the taxes whether you like it or not, how is that marching along, A? And B, how big of a defeat was Copenhagen going down in flames to these people?
Well, of course, not only was Copenhagen a ridiculous shambles, of course, as you saw the limousines driving through the blizzard to get there, and you couldn't invent it, frankly, could you? And the London Times have just said, Giles Corran, I might have mentioned this earlier, says, we're all extremely stupid. The coldest weather that we've had in Arizona, Texas, Korea, China, the United Kingdom and Poland, so on and so forth, the coldest winter for something like 30 or 40 years, and we're all too stupid to understand that that's what global warming does. The trouble is, I think, with politicians, they're so detached, they think we're stupid. They think because we're not proactive necessarily in politics that somehow we're stupid, and we have to somehow let them know that we're not stupid, we don't buy it. But you've got to bear in mind, Gordon Brown, Alex, is actually dysfunctional. He's a dysfunctional individual. He's laughably hopeless. I
mean, just looking at people, men and women, if I saw him in an airport and he wasn't the leader of England, I would think there's something wrong with that man. I mean, he does just, and I don't normally judge a book by its cover, but also his actions. He really comes off as like some kind of freak.
Well, he is a freak, and of course, he's never been elected. Just bear in mind, he wasn't elected. He never stood for office. He didn't lead the party. He He won the leadership of the UK Labour Party, unopposed, and he's never gone forward for an election, and the people have never judged him. Now, that's our system. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's the situation. So the British has never judged him, but sadly, Alex, we have another vacuous, rather stupid young man waiting in the wings, David Cameron, who takes his tie off and calls himself Dave in order to impress the working classes over here, which doesn't cut any mustard at all. But he's equally stupid and vacuous, but he looks good on television.